Hey everybody, JacqBean here, coming with another review. And today we're going to be reviewing The Walking Dead, episode 19, The Variant. So let's get to reviewing. This episode starts exactly where the last one ended. Founders Day. Sebastian got bit. It was pandemonium. All the people running, the walkers inside biting people. And this episode starts with Daryl grabbing onto Eugene and pulling him out. You know, they saw him. You know, he knows that they're going to blame what has happened on Eugene. So he takes him and he pulls him. He pulls him into the church, I believe is where he went into. That's where he is in the next scene. So he's trying to get Eugene out of there. Nobody can find Max at this point. Everybody's just kind of leaving. And the next time we see Daryl and Eugene, they are in the church. And with, working on getting plans to get out of there. They have a plan to move Eugene at dawn, in the middle of the night. Sometimes there's a knock at the door and it's Rosita. She's coming in. Daryl wanted to ask her about what happened, because so they started pulling people that were close to Eugene in the Commonwealth, folks like Ezekiel and Rosita was one of those that got interrogated. They got pulled in and interrogated. So when she got there, Eugene really wanted to know where Max was. Where was she? And that he didn't want to go without her. So while Daryl was getting it all set up for them to get him out of there in the middle of the night, Rosita said that she'd go and see if she could find Max. When Rosita was out looking for Max, Daryl comes walking back inside the room at the church, and Eugene has like his whole head out the window. And he's like, "Are you trying to get caught?" And he's just, Eugene is just feeling some kind of a way. He just wants Max to be okay. He wants to look and see if Rosita is coming, with Max. He's kind of been sitting there. He's been sitting there waiting for her, and he's really starting to get... You know how Eugene is. He's starting to get a little antsy. He loves Max, and he wants to get out there and help. So he decided he would go over to Daryl and was like, look, get out of the way, because I'm going to go out there and help. And Daryl, is looking at him like he's completely crazy because he doesn't help anything or anyone. Okay, I'm not a real big Eugene fan. But he was, he was serious. He was ready to put up his dukes and fight with Daryl to get out of there. And of course, Daryl just looked at him like, are you serious? But he moved to the side, that Daryl did. He moved to the side as if to let Eugene go out of the church to go and kind of be brave. And Eugene was like, "You're really gonna let me go, aren't you?" And Daryl was like, "You ain't going no place." Eugene just went back to sit down. And, and he started asking Daryl questions about, do you think people are born with bravery, or do you think that they learn it? And Daryl said both. He thinks that it's both, that you can be born brave and that you can learn it. I think I probably land on team you learn how to be brave, especially in this world, because if you're not, then you're always going to be the person that somebody takes care of, and you're not going to be able to take care of people yourself, or even just take care of yourself. I think this was a pivotal time for Eugene. I think hearing Daryl say that this is something that can be learned, I think he wanted to show Max and himself, as well as others, that he cared for her and that he wanted to be brave. He wanted to protect her and to save her. So we'll see how that ends up. But from my point of view, just looking at that scene, it definitely looked like Eugene was going to muster up some bravery to kind of help the situation out. While Rosita is out looking for Max, actually, she sees that they've actually caught Max and they were taking her away. So Rosita knew there wasn't anything else that she could do, and she went back to the church in order for her and Daryl and Eugene to get ready to get out of there. Eugene definitely asked about Max and where she was, and Rosita had to let him know that she was in police custody. There was nothing else that they could do. And you know what? Eugene was like, listen, I'd rather be here with her. I'd rather be here than to go running, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to help fix this. And Rosita got very emotional. She was like, they will kill you, And he was just like, I'd rather take any of those consequences to help her than to run away. With that, and with Rosita, him saying, thank you so much. You've always helped me. Now I want you to trust me to do the right decision for myself. And he gave Coco, he took that necklace that he wears, and he told her to give that to Coco. That he thinks that after a while she'll have this fashion and style to be able to wear something like that. It was actually pretty cute. Rosita gave him a hug, and then she left. And the next time we see Eugene, he is walking up into the police station. And they're like, get on your knees. And he confesses. He confesses that he did the recording, that he inadvertently got Sebastian killed, that wasn't the intention, but that he did it on his own, that Max didn't have anything to do with it. At this point, I think Mercer was just relieved. He doesn't want anything to happen to Max, although Max doesn't want anything to happen to Eugene. So we'll definitely see how this ends up next week, because then we see him just sitting in jail. We see Pamela in, it looks like a morgue, and the Sebastian's body is laying on the table, and she's just looking at it, feeling some kind of way, looking at her son. Mercer was in there with her, and I think he was just kind of pushing us like, we need to kill him. and she was like, no, not at all. She didn't want to do it. She sat there, she was angry, and she just wanted to put everything that happened on Eugene. She wanted to make Eugene the pariah. She wanted to make him the evil one, that he did this. And if she could get him, if they could collect him, then she could kill him and show the people of the Commonwealth that they just can't do anything they want. She wanted it to be a lesson to them. And then she talked a little bit about Max, who of course is Mercer's sister, and she was just like, what, we can take care of her. We'll get her back in line, and we'll just kind of blame everything on Eugene. So in her own way, she was using Max as leverage against Mercer, saying, look, you do what I want to do, and I'll make sure that your sister doesn't have to pay for the part that she played in this. And, that's how she was going to keep him in line to do what she wanted him to do, so that nothing would happen to her. A citywide sweep had been put in effect at the Commonwealth, and they started picking up Eugene's friends, and they would take them in to interrogate them, to ask them what they knew about what Eugene had planned on doing, and maybe where he was, so that they could tell him that. Rosita was one of the people that they picked up, and they brought her in to interrogate her, and she was really kind of taken aback by Mercer's line of questioning, because he was talking to her like he didn't know her, like they hadn't kind of gotten this great kind of working relationship. Mercer told her, he says, listen, what I need you to do for me is to tell me where Eugene is, or get Eugene to surrender. If he doesn't surrender, then I'd kind of hate to think what could happen to your friends in the Commonwealth. So in his own way, he threatened them. Absolutely. You give me Eugene, or I'm going to do things to your friends that are here in the Commonwealth from Alexandria and the Hilltop. Then it goes back to Sebastian and Pamela in the morgue, and she is just sitting there looking at him, wiping the blood and stuff off of his mouth, and sitting there talking about, how she was feeling guilty for being a bad mother and mad from losing him. And I'm kind of sitting there like, he is getting ready to turn. You better stop talking to him and, get prepared, And he did turn. He turned, and then she got up and walked out and told the guy to take care of this. And it made me go back to looking at, just The Walking Dead and Rick's group, and Maggie's group and Daryl's group, how when their loved ones turned, they killed them. They didn't ask anybody else to do it. They killed them themselves, and she is just going to walk out the door and have somebody else kill them. So I thought. But they did find Max. They found her, and she was, I don't know if she was trying to run or she was trying to hide. She was just kind of standing there looking around. But they did catch up with her, and they brought her into the interrogation room with Mercer, her brother. And he just wants her to sign, saying that she had mental illness and that she really didn't mean to do anything, and that it was Eugene's fault that they did what they did. And she was just not going to do it. She was like, listen, I did that. I did it because I think this is a good place, and I want to help the Commonwealth, and these are not good people, and this is not good, so I'm not going to sign anything, period. And I'm definitely not going to sign anything that implicates that everything was done by Eugene. So after Pamela told one of the guards to take care of Sebastian, we see her go into the jail cell where Hornsby is. And he's just kind of sitting back. He's looking at her. He thinks that she's coming in for them to make up, that, how they're going to move forward, telling her just like how much he was a part of the Milton family and that he did things, for her. He was on her side. But she looked at him. She was livid. You could tell she was so mad. And she said, "You killed my son." And of course, Hornsby is just, what? And she said, "You got your people to go and kill those 8 workers, and they turned into walkers, and they are the ones that interrupted the Commonwealth's Founders Day, and they are the ones that bit Sebastian." And then I was like, Eureka! Remember during the last video, I was like, I don't kind of get what they're doing or why they would have done that to those people. They were just kind of waiting to get everything done so that they could get their lottery. But he was the one that wanted to have walkers walking, invading. So he was the one that wanted to have walkers invading Founders Day. And that way, Pamela would know just how much she needed him. But she realized that. She realized that that was what happened. And he wants to say, no, I've always done things for you. I've done things for Sebastian because he was your son. I am a Milton person, and this is what I would do anything I could for you. And of course, in good old Hornsby fashion, it was the people of Alexandria and Hilltop. It's their fault. They're the one that are making things change here. It's them. And we just need to get rid of them. While I don't think that Pamela was kind of taking it all in all, she kind of walked up to him. She walked up to him and went into his pocket and got his coin and said, maybe we should make a decision the way you would with these coins. But instead of throwing the coin up and bringing it down on her hand, she put the coin in one of her hands. So she had one balled up hand that didn't have anything in it and one with the coin. And she told him, I'm going to let you choose. You pick the right one, you live. The other one, you die. He did pick the finger or the hand. He did pick the hand that had the coin in it. So he was just sitting back smiling, feeling all happy with himself because, you know, he'll live and he'll be sitting there doing the rest of his mess some more. But the next thing Pamela did was she opened the door and she brought in the walker Sebastian, the Sebastian walker, and gnarling and growling, and she left him. She put him in there with Hornsby, and then she brought in the male goon that shot those people. And he was pretty newly killed, too. And they laid him on the ground. So Hornsby had a growling, snarling Sebastian, and he had a bloody dead goon sitting on the ground. And Pamela dropped the knife and said, "Feed my son." And then she left the room. So I'm not sure what's going to come out of that. That's going to be interesting, though. That was a great piece. You know, Hornsby's pretty resourceful, but we'll see if he can get out of that, get Sebastian to eat off the dead guy, and give himself a little chance to get himself out of his cuffs. So we catch up with our friends Aaron, Elijah, Jerry, and Lydia. They're in the wagon. They're going to Oceanside to deliver supplies and kind of let them know what's going to happen. But as they're going up front, they see a group of walkers kind of going across. So Aaron's like, you know what? We don't have no time. We need to get to Oceanside. We can't sit here and fight them. Let's kind of go around them by going through the woods. And so they start to do that. And then the view goes on to the walkers. And you see this one walker that he is like really alert. You know how they kind of drudge along. But he was alert. He was looking around like he had some mind function. And I know the first thing that I thought, are the Whispers back? Are they bringing the Whispers back for the end of the season? And so we'll see what happens with that. So as our group takes the long way round, they were having some problems with the wheels and kind of shifting over all of that grass and dirt and rocks and stuff. And they ended up kind of pulling the wagon, and Jerry hurt his knee. So they knew they really couldn't go anyplace at that point because Jerry had hurt himself. When they looked up, they saw a little community there. It wasn't nobody in there. It had walls, and they figured that was a good place to go and just kind of lay low until they can fix and give, Jerry the help that he needs for that knee, and then they move on. So they were all there, and they got to kind of help Jerry, and Aaron decided that, so for the night, they stay there overnight. And he'd take the night watch. He'd look after everything at night. And he did that along with Lydia. They did the watch together. And they were just sitting, they were kind of talking. They could hear the growling and the rustling outside the gate, outside the walls. They could hear the rustling outside of the walls, the gnarling and the growling that the walkers do. But they pretty much felt like they would be okay because they were behind the wall, because that's how we worked with walkers. The walkers couldn't get inside if you had a wall. But they did get inside the wall. And I know what I missed a little bit earlier in the scene when they were inside this community helping Jerry. They had another scene where it looks like a walker was outside the wall and he had brought his hand up over the top like he was climbing through. So as we get back to this, they had climbed the walls in order to get into the community. So Aaron and Lydia, they're fighting them. They are, killing them. And they was like, let's go and get Jerry, because Jerry is a sitting duck. Elijah and Jerry didn't have to be the first to do the night watch. So they went and got them up. They fought for a little bit, just kind of killing the walkers that had gotten to them, and they got to them pretty quickly. And they went inside the building that Jerry was sitting in front of. They went on the inside of the building, and guess what? They started ringing the knob, like they were trying to open the door. Aaron thought, probably the way I did, that these were the whisperers. And so he was like, listen, let's just go and get up on the roof. They did get on the roof. Lydia and Elijah went off to just kind of cut them off at the end, start to kill some of them. Jerry's kind of sitting there, duding it out. That's my man right there. Jerry is great. All of a sudden, here comes a walker crawling up the side of the roof. He had gotten up there. Jerry was able to get Aaron in enough time for Aaron to kill him, or it would have been R.I.P. Jerry, and I would have been very sad. But he was able to kill him, and then what Aaron did was to take off his mask, because he says, let's see what kind of people it was. And it wasn't people. It was the skin, it was all of the nerves and stuff in his face. It wasn't a walker, and shocked. I was definitely shocked. Aaron started to talk to Jerry about it too. He said that he's heard of walkers that could open doors and climb fences, but he's hoping that this isn't it. But I think it is. We're going to have some really agile walkers in these last episodes. And the last thing that happened in this episode was that Rosita was kind of getting packed up, and she had the necklace and she was looking at it. I definitely reminiscing about Eugene and hoping that he is okay. And she hears a little rumbling in the back, but she believes that it's people. She's like, okay, is everybody ready to go? And then she walks out and she is attacked. She is attacked by two men. They are just hitting her, and she's giving them some shit back, Rosita ain't no punk. But the last scene of it showed them holding her, one of the guys holding her, and the other putting a covering over her head, and that's how it went off. So this was a great episode. Lots of excitement from beginning to end, and I'm ready for the next one. I actually think that Hornsby is going to get himself out of that mess in the room with Walker Sebastian. He's pretty resourceful, and I still think he has a part to play in this ending. I also think it's going to be very interesting to see how the walkers have evolved to ones that can climb fences and open doors. I believe it's going to be the precursor to Daryl's show that comes up, I believe, next year. And I know that they make it feel like he'll be in France, so how are we going to have gotten walkers like that from France? So that's really interesting as well. And it definitely seems like that deal that Carol put in place with Pamela may be in jeopardy, especially when they took Rosita at the end. I really think that she's going to go back on it. Hornsby kind of put it in her ear when he said that it was the Alexandria people, the Hilltop people's fault, because they kind of, created this want for a better community to live in, because our folks came from better communities. So it definitely feels like this last fight is going to be with the Commonwealth, and Eugene is going to be right in the middle. I think they're going to want to kill him to show him, and I do think that they're going to go back on the deal that they had with Carol. So tell me what you think. Comment below, and if you're enjoying the content, please like and subscribe to the video, and I'll see you next week.